This lesson is 3.6 lines in the coordinate plane. We're going to learn to write equations of a line given different situations. So we may be given a point and a slope. We may be given two ordered pairs. We may be given x-intercept, y-intercept. So we need to be comfortable writing an equation of a line for all of these. So here's scenario one. If you're given a point, we'll call that point x1, y1. And the slope of a line, which is known as m, use the point-slope form, y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So whenever we're given just a point and a slope, we're going to use point-slope form. It may seem like common sense given that it's point-slope form and we're given a point and a slope, but it isn't always that way, so I really want to stress that point. Okay, so here's our first equation. Write an equation of the line with a slope of 3 that passes through the point 2, 1. So in this case, our m is going to be 3 because that's slope, and our point 2, 1 means that x1, y1, in this case, equals 2, 1. So I'm just going to plug into my formula, y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Y minus, my y1 is 1, equals, my m is 3, x minus x1 is 2. So this y and this x never change. It's just the x1, the y1, and the m that we plug into the appropriate spaces. If we're told to keep it in point-slope form, we are done. We've inserted our point and our slope, and so we have our point-slope form. Okay, I lost my work there, but in order to write slope-intercept form, I only need my m and my b is what I was saying. M is slope, and b is y-intercept, which is where the name slope-intercept form comes from. So that's what I'm looking for. So I calculated my m. Use 0, 4, any point you want. I picked 0, 4, and slope, which we can calculate as y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1 to fill in point-slope form. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Then simplify to slope-intercept form. So let's see what that will look like. So I take my point 0, 4 and my slope. I need to calculate my slope. y2 is 2 minus y1 is 4 all over x2 is negative 1 minus x1 is 0. 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Negative 1 minus 0 is negative 1. A negative divided by negative is a positive, and 2 divided by 1 is 2. So my slope is 2. So y minus remember this was my x1 and my y1, 0 and 4. So y minus 4 equals my slope of 2 that I just calculated, parentheses, x minus 0. Okay, so now I need to simplify to get it into slope-intercept form. So the first thing that I would need to do here is distribute. So y minus 4 equals 2x, and 2 times 0 is 0. So I'm not even going to write plus 0, minus 0 there. Okay, my next step is to isolate the y. So that y equals, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And I want to keep it in mx plus b form. So y equals mx, remember my m was 2, my x, plus the 4 that I just moved to the right-hand side. So So all I did was isolate y. Isolate y. Option 2 is to plug directly into y equals mx plus b. In this case, we can plug in an x, a y, let's do that in a different color. We can plug in an x, a y, and we can also plug in m by calculating it. In the last problem, remember we calculated by doing y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. We ended up with negative 2 over negative 1, which was positive 2. Okay, so I'm going to plug in my x, my y, and my m. So my y, I just picked any point I wanted. I picked 0, 4 again. So my y is 4, my m is 2, my x is 0, and I don't know b. Remember that b represents our y-intercept. And that is why this is called slope-intercept form, the m and the b. So if I can solve for b, I only need my m and my b to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So to solve for b, I have 4 equals 2 times 0 is 0 plus b, so I don't even need the 0. So I just have 4 equals b. Now I have my b, I have my m, and those two things need to be placed into y equals mx plus b to get my final answer in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. So remember, I only need my m and my b to go ahead and write my final equation, y equals 2x plus 4. This is the same answer that we got when we used point slope form. In this scenario, we're given an x-intercept and a y-intercept. And so just for practice, I'm going to have us do this in both point slope form and slope-intercept form. The first thing you need to remember about x-intercepts and y-intercepts is if you have an x-intercept, that means that it's hitting directly on the x-axis and it's nowhere on the y. So if you have an x-intercept of 2, like this that I just drew here for you, the ordered pair would be 2, 0, because it's nowhere on the y. And if you have a y-intercept, like in our situation here, y-intercept of 3, then we would be at 3 on the y, but nowhere on the x, so 0 on the x. I shouldn't say nowhere on the x, we're at 0 on the x, sorry about that. Okay, and so we're going to write this both in point slope form and slope intercept form. Well, for point slope form, I need a point. I have one. I'll pick 2, 0. But I also need a slope, so let's use our slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equals, our y2 is 3 minus 0 over our x2 is 0 minus x1 is 2. So we end up with 3 over negative 2, or negative 3/2. That negative can be either at the 3 or the 2 or just in the middle of the fraction, negative 3/2. Okay, so I have m equals negative 3 over 2. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with my point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So then I'm going to plug in my y1, which was 0, my m, which is negative 3 over 2, and my x1, which is 2. I could have picked either point, but I chose 2, 0, so that's what I'm plugging in. So I'm going to simplify this. Y equals, I don't need that 0 there, negative 3 over 2, x minus 2. This is point-slope form. I've simply inputted the point and the slope. If I want to change this to slope-intercept form, I need to continue to simplify. So that would mean that I'd have to distribute. So y equals negative 3 over 2 times x is negative 3 over 2x, and negative 3 over 2 times negative 2, if we remember with our fractions, you can either put this in your calculator now, or you can multiply by negative 2, but as a fraction that'd be negative 2 over 1. We can cross simplify, and we get negative 3 times negative 1, which is positive 3. 3 over 1, which is 3. And now we have it in slope-intercept form.